Hi guys. So the year is 2026 and everybody's claiming to be an AI expert on the internet. Take it from someone who personally have been a software engineer for the last over 7 years, right? I've built complex production systems. I've worked with different organizations across the globe, right? I have managed complex infrastructure across different cloud systems. And also more lately, I've been really working on local AI inference. How can I build systems that allows AI, small AI models, right, to run on your laptop or on your small computer or on your server without connecting to the internet, and also building the systems that allows your AI to also have context in your own data, right? And I think that that's the future of privacy. Now, because AI is very big, everybody wants to create content on AI, right? So the problem is that sometimes there's a very huge noise to signal ratio. People are actually sharing things that are very important. Most of the information out there that you might find could be also very important. But the problem is that there's a risk of copy paste across board. People that don't really understand the systems go online, just get information from someone else, copy and just paste to you. So it's very difficult to really understand whether the speaker has a lot of context in what they're actually talking about. Personally, for me, I use AI a lot when I'm trying to build systems, right? And I've had the opportunity to explore what the systems can do, what the opportunities are, the limitations and the strength of the systems. And I think that in most cases, right, AI is very, very useful. But when you also do not understand a lot of the context behind how to really use these systems by understanding what their weakness, their limitations are, and how to provide your prompt with specificity, you would always find out that AI systems would lag a lot, right? And there's going to be a lot of limitations, right? So, um, as a result of that, I've more recently been thinking about how can I help people really build AI systems that are or software basically with AI. I know there's a lot of software that is lovable, there's both, but sometimes it doesn't give you the kind of granular control that you're looking for, right? So, what if you want to build very complex systems, the type of production grade systems that most startups are building today, right? What tools would you use? How would you build it, right? So that is more of like my concerns more recently, and I think it's something I would be talking about like more on this platform. When I was doing my MSc was in software engineering, but my specific focus was around building context aware systems. And if you've heard of the problem around context fragmentation, I'm very sure that if you're using AI systems, it's actually a very big problem. As these systems keep helping you and coding over time, sometimes you just lose the business context, right? And so it can be a very, 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 very dicey what's it called situation to be in. I think my inverter went off, but it might come on a bit later, right? But I mean, I'll still record the video. So it might be you might find yourself in a very, very dicey situation where you want to build complex systems, you want to build your next startup, you have an idea, and you are thinking of how to use AI best, right? The question is, where do you start from? For me, whenever I want to build a new system or a new software and I want to use AI, the very first thing I often do is to um, think a lot about the business problem I want to solve. So I start by writing that down. Who are the users going to be, right? What do I want each of them to be able to do? Something that we call a user story. So you map out what their story is going to be like. So as a user, I would want to open the application. I'd want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do that. So by the time you define those stories, right, it allows you to look at the business case and also like critically understand the limitations and the strength of your ideas and the direction, right? Once you've done that, when you've written your user story out, the very next thing that you are supposed to do is to think about the layers, right, that would allow the user to be able to do those things, basically, right? So you have an overall story, you have like the steps, this user would need to do this. Those different steps and layers would end up becoming your feature, right? When you've created that, sometimes I use like Obsidian Notes, but you can use your Google Docs, you can use any notes. Do that first before you even reach AI, because AI has this um, habit. AI system, most AI systems, Claude, ChatGPT, and the rest have this habit of just taking your ideas and telling you like this is the best idea in the world. Now go online and do a bit of research about what you want to do. Gather a bit more context. Then carry that context, you can dump it. For thinking about architecture and systems like that, to be honest, I think ChatGPT does a better work most of the time than Claude. Now, Claude can be very, very good with implementation, right? With like taking those concepts and improving it. So I always do that in the next step. But the first step, I would normally dump it with ChatGPT because ChatGPT has very good understanding of like language patterns. So it's able to actually generate something that makes a lot of sense. So you end up having a generated um um maybe it's like a text architecture and everything, right? Then you review it again. Sometimes I'll copy that output, paste it in Claude. This is for someone that's not technical. For myself, I can review it and then I would send a second prompt that refines the output, right? So for someone that's non-technical, sometimes I would say take it to Claude and ask Claude to critique it and mention the limitations, the cons, the issues. Then it would also mention that you take it back to OpenAI. OpenAI would refine it based on that feedback. So now you have something that's more refined. The next thing you ask it to do is to also help you generate an entities relationship diagram. This is like how your system is like going to be able to talk, like what the database structure is going to look like. Once OpenAI has like created that for you, right? You take that entire output, the architecture breakdown, the feature breakdown, and everything, right? You copy that. That will now become sort of like your specification, right? Or your spec document. You can copy that, you can paste it in like your Google Docs, you can refine it later, right? Now, you can use different coding tools, and there are a lot of different coding tools available. For me, I use VS Code, right, with a Claude extension. So my Claude subscription also helps for how I use it within my um within my the VS Code extension, right? So if I have a Claude subscription, I can use it within my VS Code Claude extension. So once you just go download your VS Code, you open, let's say open it in an empty folder, right? And then you can open your extension. It will ask you to sign in. You sign in. It will ask for authentication. Open your browser and you're authenticated. Now you have Claude within your VS Code. Now, before dumping your entire specification, right, directly inside of Claude, the very first thing I do most times is to take that specification that was created and take it back to OpenAI like ChatGPT and ask it, based on this, create a detailed system prompt, and prompt or instruction for an AI model to implement this flawlessly, right? And then I can give it other extra specifications like this is the UI, this is the color I want to use. I can paste sample UIs. I want the UI to look like this, right? For the back end, I want to use this, I want to use that. And I tell it, make sure you don't make any mistakes, right? So what is then generated is a prompt for an AI system to implement the software based on your specification. So you can now copy that, then take that into your Claude. Once you paste into Claude, Claude takes that, creates an implementation plan, and then begins to create the folders, front end, maybe front end React, back end Node.js, and it begins to implement. Now, if you are more experienced, you begin to have more fine-grained control. And of course, I'm not saying that you must use this same pattern if you're trying to create simple stuff as a website. But if you're trying to create a complex production-grade systems using AI tools and AI application, that would be my flow. First of all, define your idea, right? Make sure it is conceptually correct before you take it to ChatGPT. ChatGPT helps you refine it. Take it from ChatGPT back to Claude, right? To test and check the architectural correctness and point out any issues. Take the issue back to OpenAI. OpenAI fixes it and then creates a complete specification, right? Based on your user story, the business logic, everything that you have defined. That gives you a specification. Then ask it to then generate a command to an AI system to implement that, and then you can add extra context with maybe screenshots of website you want it to look like, and maybe the implementation, the language, the color, the hues, or any images, and then it creates that instruction. Then you copy that instruction to Claude, to your Claude extension in your VS Code. Now, you can also, once you've pasted that and then it starts to implement, you can also still always paste. I think Claude's VS Code extension is very, very good when it comes to UI. It can test UI very well. So, like with this approach, right, you can like pretty much have more fine-grained control around how you build very, very correct and complex systems. If you're trying to build a simple website or a very simple application that just does simple stuff, you can go with Lovable or Bold.dev. Is it Bold.dev? I think it's Bold.dev, right? So that's just how I sort of like use these systems to build software today. And they are still very limited, right? As a senior software engineer, of course, there are still more context, but note this is more of a guide to like someone that's a bit non-technical. If you're a technical person, there are a lot of things I would have said you should do, from how you design your ERD to how you create your queues and other things like that. Like you would go into the extra details, how you write your test, how you want it to what's it called, set up a structure for your migration. Do you want to write shortcuts in a Makefile to manage your migrations, or you would just want to just have like a simple straight up migration for your ORM that allows you to interact with your database? Do you want to go with Type ORM? Do you want to go with Prisma? And depending on the language too, which ORM would you want to use and which ORM is best, right? What would you use Redis for? And those other extra complex architectural decisions are still things I find that AI still struggles with, right? And I'm still thinking of the best way to go about creating a guide. And of course, I want to make it free, a guide that would allow people that are non-technical to be able to steer their AI systems, to be able to at least do very complex stuff at that level. So it's still a work in progress, and I hope to still share more here. There's I would be sharing more videos in the coming weeks, just talking about AI and the stuff I have been doing. So just stay tuned. Have a great day.